"Why do you smell like that?" asked the alien child to the human, "like the gods who made us." Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. It really helps support the channel. The vast emptiness of Orbital Station Nexus 7 felt particularly oppressive today. Nathan Brooks, human janitor of the diplomatic wing, pushed his cleaning cart down the eerily quiet corridor, the gentle hum of the station's life support systems his only companion. It was the third cycle of the Galactic Summit, and most of the station's 8,000 residents were attending the grand reception in the Central Dome. All except Nathan and the skeletal maintenance crew, keeping the station running while the diplomats mingled. 3 years ago, he would have laughed if someone told him he'd be cleaning up after alien ambassadors in deep space. Now it was just Tuesday. Nathan's work visa had been a godsend after the economic collapse back on Earth. The pay was decent, the accommodations adequate, and most importantly, it was steady work. Sure, the aliens looked at him like he was some primitive curiosity, but they generally treated him with professional indifference, which suited him just fine. He turned the corner toward the Mantodine delegation's quarters, mop in hand. The insectoid species was notoriously messy, constantly shedding exoskeletal fragments that stuck to everything. As he approached their suite, he noticed a small figure hunched by the doorway. It was a Zinthari child, no more than the equivalent of a 7-year-old human. The small, blue-skinned alien had luminous silver eyes that took up nearly half its face. The child was alone, unusual for the normally protective Zinthari. Their species had only joined the Galactic Concord 20 years ago and were still considered newcomers to interstellar society. The child looked up at Nathan, those enormous eyes blinking rapidly in what Nathan had learned was a sign of curiosity. "Why do you smell like that?" asked the alien child to the human. Nathan paused, leaning on his mop. Children, regardless of species, had a remarkable talent for asking the most unexpected questions. "Smell like what?" Nathan asked, genuinely puzzled. He had showered that morning and used the standard issue, odorless soap provided to all station personnel to avoid offending the olfactory senses of the various species. The child tilted its head, the silvery eyes reflecting the soft blue lighting of the corridor. "Like the gods who made us." Nathan froze. Of all the things he expected the child to say, that wasn't even on the list. The Zinthari were known for their highly advanced sense of smell, but this was bizarre even by their standards. "I'm not sure I understand," Nathan said carefully, conscious that diplomatic incidents had started over less. "Which gods are you referring to?" The child stood and approached Nathan with the fluid grace typical of the Zinthari species. "The ancient ones. The cedars. You smell of earth and water and fire. Like the gods in the old stories." A chill ran down Nathan's spine. The cedars was a term he had heard whispered among some of the older alien delegates, usually after they'd consumed too much of whatever passed for alcohol in their respective biologies. It was supposedly a fringe theory about the origins of sentient life in the galaxy, one that most serious scientists dismissed as primitive mythology. Before Nathan could formulate a response, a tall Zinthari adult rounded the corner, moving with the characteristic gliding motion of their species. The adult's silver eyes widened upon seeing the child with Nathan. "Taza, there you are." The adult's translator rendered the musical language into stilted English. "You must not wander away during important gatherings." The adult, presumably a parent or guardian, looked at Nathan with what he interpreted as embarrassment, though alien expressions were notoriously difficult to read. "I apologize if my offspring has disturbed your duties, human maintenance worker." Nathan smiled politely. "No disturbance at all. We were just having a friendly chat." The adult's eyes narrowed slightly. "What did the young one say to you?" There was something in the Zinthari's tone that made Nathan hesitate. "Just curious questions. Kids will be kids, regardless of species, right?" The Zinthari adult placed a four-fingered hand on the child's shoulder. "Indeed. Come, Taza. The reception awaits, and Ambassador Zintel is about to give the address." The child looked back at Nathan as they were led away. "The gods will return," the child said in a voice just loud enough for Nathan to hear. "That's what the elders say." They will return when the stars align. Then they were gone, leaving Nathan alone with his mop and a growing sense of unease. Hours later, having finished his shift, Nathan sat in the station's human quarter canteen, poking at a synthetic protein meal that was supposedly designed to taste like beef stroganoff. It didn't. His thoughts kept returning to the strange encounter with the Zinthri child. "You look like you've seen a ghost," said a female voice. Nathan looked up to see Emily Parker, one of the human diplomatic aides, sliding into the seat across from him. With her dark hair pulled back in a practical bun and her standard-issue gray uniform, she looked every bit the professional Earth representative. "Just tired," Nathan replied. The Mantodine quarters were a mess. Again, Emily grinned. "Better you than me. I spent the day translating agricultural trade proposals between the Duraxians and the Phobos colony representatives. My brain feels like mush." Nathan hesitated, then decided to confide in her. Emily had been on the station longer than most humans and had a reputation for being knowledgeable about the various alien cultures. "Had a weird conversation with a Zinthri kid today," he said, keeping his voice low. "Said I smelled like the gods who made us. Something about cedars." Emily's smile faded. She glanced around the canteen, which was largely empty except for a few off-duty maintenance workers, before leaning in. "That's interesting," she said carefully. "The Zinthri have some unusual religious beliefs. Most of the newer species do." "It wasn't just what the kids said," Nathan continued. "It was the way the adult reacted when they found us talking. Like they were afraid of what the child might tell me." Emily took a sip of her synthetic coffee, her expression thoughtful. "Did you know that humans have been denied access to certain archaeological sites in Zinthri space? Official reason is biological contamination concerns, but there are rumors." "What kind of rumors?" "That some of the older species are uncomfortable with how quickly humans have adapted to galactic society. We've been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries, but we're already everywhere, establishing colonies, integrating with alien technologies, learning languages faster than any other species." Nathan frowned. "That's just because we're playing catch-up. Most of these species had a 1,000-year head start on us." "Maybe," Emily said. "Or maybe there's something about us that makes them nervous. Something fundamental." Their conversation was interrupted by the station-wide announcement system. "Attention, all personnel. The Galactic Summit reception is now concluding. Please return to your designated areas. Maintenance crews Beta and Gamma, please report to Central Dome for cleanup duty." Nathan sighed. "That's me, Gamma crew." He stood, leaving his half-eaten meal. "Thanks for the chat, Emily. It's nice to talk to another human who isn't just complaining about the recycled air." Emily caught his arm as he turned to leave. "Nathan, be careful about asking questions about the cedars or ancient ones. Some topics make the older species uncomfortable, especially where humans are concerned." Nathan nodded, a little surprised by her intensity. "Sure thing. I'm just here to clean up the messes, not make new ones." As he walked to the Central Dome, Nathan couldn't shake the feeling that he had stumbled onto something significant. Something that might explain the occasional strange looks he received from certain alien species, or the way conversations sometimes stopped when he entered a room. The Central Dome was magnificent, even in the aftermath of the reception. A massive transparent ceiling revealed the stunning vista of stars and the nearby gas giant that the station orbited. The space was designed to accommodate beings of all sizes and environmental needs, with gravity and atmosphere controls that could create localized bubbles for specific requirements. Now it was littered with the detritus of diplomatic mingling, discarded food containers, spilled drinks of various colors and viscosities, and the occasional abandoned personal item. Nathan and the rest of Gamma crew set to work, efficiently cleaning sections of the vast space. As Nathan mopped near one of the atmospheric boundary zones, he overheard 2 Dorisian delegates speaking in their native tongue. His translator implant, standard issue for all station personnel, automatically converted their clicking language. Human presence grows stronger each cycle. The Council cannot ignore the implications forever. The directive of non-interference is clear. We observe only. Besides, they remain unaware of their heritage. Do they? The Zinthri delegation reports unusual incidents. Their sensitives claim to detect the ancient resonance in human biological signatures. The Zinthri are young and prone to mysticism. Their sensitives detect ancient resonances in everything from cosmic radiation to food processors. A third voice joined the conversation, lower and more resonant, belonging to a species Nathan couldn't identify from his position. Mysticism or not, the genetic evidence is becoming difficult to dismiss. The human DNA structure contains sequences that appear in no other species, yet echo patterns found in the precursor artifacts. The mathematical concordance calculated the probability of coincidental evolution at less than 1 in. The conversation abruptly halted as the delegates noticed Nathan's presence. They moved away, continuing their discussion beyond the range of his translator. Nathan pretended to focus on his mopping, his mind racing. This wasn't the first time he had overheard fragments of strange conversations about humans, but it was the most explicit. What genetic evidence were they talking about? What was the ancient resonance the Zinthri supposedly detected in humans? He was so lost in thought that he almost missed the small object on the floor near one of the refreshment stations. It was a data crystal, the kind used by most galactic species for storing and transferring information. These were valuable, especially for diplomats who might store sensitive information on them. Nathan picked it up, intending to turn it into Lost and Found. As his fingers closed around the crystal, it glowed briefly with an inner light. Strange, as data crystals weren't supposed to react to touch. Maybe it was damaged. He pocketed the crystal, deciding to examine it more closely after his shift. If it contained diplomatic information, he should personally ensure it reached the proper authorities rather than risk it getting lost in the station's bureaucratic system. For hours later, exhausted from the cleanup operation, Nathan finally returned to his small private quarters. The station provided each human worker with a compact but functional living space, a bed, a hygiene unit, a small food preparation area, and a desk with a standard terminal. Nathan sat at his desk and examined the data crystal. It was unusual, slightly larger than standard, with an iridescent quality that shifted colors as he turned it in the light. There were no identifying marks to indicate its owner. The station's terminals were designed to be compatible with most galactic data formats. Nathan inserted the crystal into the reader slot, expecting to be prompted for security credentials that he wouldn't have. Instead, the screen immediately filled with data. At first, Nathan thought the information was corrupted. The text flowed across the screen in patterns that didn't resemble any language he recognized. Then, gradually, the characters began to shift, rearranging themselves into recognizable Earth standard. Genetic concordance analysis, species 3742, human. Authorized viewing, Council level 7+. Security protocol, Alpha Omega Red. Nathan's heart raced. This was clearly not meant for his eyes. He should remove the crystal immediately and report it to security. That would be the proper procedure. Instead, he continued reading. Summary: comparative analysis of species 3742, human. Genetic structure reveals 97.3% concordance with precursor template alpha. No other known species exceeds 42% concordance. Temporal analysis indicates artificial acceleration of evolutionary processes approximately 200,000 standard cycles ago. Conclusion: species 3742 represents direct genetic engineering by precursor civilization, with minimal drift despite temporal gap. Unlike other seeded species, humans appear to be near-perfect genetic descendants rather than adapted variations. Recommendation: continued observation. Restricted access to precursor sites and technologies to prevent activation of dormant genetic sequences. Implementation of Cultural Guidance Protocol 17 to direct species development away from dangerous avenues of inquiry. Addendum: recent incidents of spontaneous precursor technology activation in presence of human biological material are concerning. Recommend consideration of containment protocol if incidents continue to escalate. Attached to the report were images that Nathan struggled to comprehend. They showed what appeared to be DNA sequences, but with strange annotations and comparisons to another, more complex molecular structure labeled Precursor Template Alpha. There were also images of what looked like ancient ruins on various worlds, alongside what appeared to be humans in environmental suits examining artifacts. The images were labeled with dates ranging back decades before official first contact between Earth and the galactic community. Nathan's hands trembled as he scrolled through the data. If this information was accurate, it suggested that humanity's entire understanding of their place in the galaxy was based on lies. Humans weren't just another spacefaring species that had developed independently. According to this, they were the direct descendants of an ancient, powerful civilization that had apparently engineered them for some unknown purpose. And the current galactic powers knew this and had been deliberately keeping humans from learning the truth. A soft chime from his door interrupted his thoughts. Nathan quickly ejected the data crystal and slipped it into his pocket before opening the door. Emily Parker stood in the corridor, still in her diplomatic uniform, but looking considerably more disheveled than earlier. "Sorry to bother you so late," she said, her voice tight. "Can I come in?" Nathan hesitated, suddenly suspicious. Had someone seen him take the crystal? Was Emily here in some official capacity? "It's important," she added, glancing nervously down the corridor. He stepped aside to let her enter, watching as she immediately went to his terminal and activated a small device that she placed on the desk. The device emitted a soft hum. "Signal jammer," she explained. "Gives us about 5 minutes of privacy before the station security systems flag it as suspicious." "What's going on, Emily?" She turned to face him, her expression grave. "That conversation we had earlier, about the Zinthri child. You've been asking questions, and you've been noticed." Nathan felt a chill. Noticed by whom? The Cultural Observation Directorate. They monitor all interactions between humans and certain alien species, especially those involving sensitive topics. Nathan's mind flashed back to the report he had just read. Cultural Guidance Protocol 17. Was Emily part of this? What are cedars, Emily? And what did that Zinthri child mean when they said I smell like the gods who made us? Emily's eyes widened slightly. "You found something, haven't you? Since we talked." Nathan said nothing, his hand unconsciously moving to the pocket containing the data crystal. Emily noticed the gesture and sighed. "I'm not here to take anything from you or report you, Nathan. I'm here to warn you. I'm part of a network of humans who have been piecing together the truth about our origins and our place in galactic society. The truth being that we're some kind of genetic engineering project by an extinct civilization." Now it was Emily's turn to look surprised. "You really did find something significant." "Yes, that's part of it. The species collectively known as the Precursors or the Cedars didn't just influence evolution across the galaxy. They engineered specific species for specific purposes. Most alien species are derived from precursor templates, but with significant modifications to suit particular environments. And humans? We're different. According to what we've discovered, humans are nearly identical to one of the primary precursor genetic templates. We're not just their descendants or creations. We're them, or as close to them as exists in the galaxy today. Nathan thought about the data he had seen. The report mentioned spontaneous technology activation. What does that mean? Emily smiled grimly. Have you ever wondered why humans adapted so quickly to alien technology? Why we can use interfaces designed for species with completely different sensory systems? It's because that technology was originally designed for beings genetically similar to us. The implications were staggering. So the galactic community has been deliberately keeping humans away from certain technologies and archaeological sites because they're afraid we might activate ancient systems that respond to our genetic signature. Exactly. And it's not just technology. There are rumors of entire worlds locked away behind quarantine barriers because they contain precursor systems that might recognize humans as authorized users. Nathan recalled the portion of the report recommending containment protocol if incidents continued to escalate. They're afraid of us. With good reason, Emily said. The precursors were advanced beyond anything the current galactic powers can imagine. Their civilizations spanned multiple galaxies before they mysteriously disappeared. If humans truly are their direct descendants, potentially carrying dormant genetic knowledge or abilities. The signal jammer on the desk began to flash red. We're out of time, Emily said. Security will be flagging this conversation. I need to go. She deactivated the jammer and slipped it back into her pocket. Whatever you found, keep it safe. Don't trust anyone, not even other humans. The Directorate has human agents. Why are you telling me all this? Why trust me? Emily paused at the door. Because the Zinthari child approached you specifically, and that matters. Their sensitives can detect genetic resonances that our instruments can't. If one identified you as carrying strong precursor markers. She shook her head. Just be careful. And if you need help, leave a maintenance request for Section 47B with the code phrase atmospheric anomaly. Someone will contact you. After she left, Nathan sat on his bed, the data crystal heavy in his pocket. His mind raced with questions and implications. If what Emily said was true, if what the data crystal contained was accurate, then humanity's entire understanding of their place in the universe was wrong. They weren't latecomers to an ancient galactic community. They were the returning inheritors of it. Nathan couldn't sleep. The revelations of the past day swirled in his mind, along with a growing sense that he had stumbled into something far larger and more dangerous than he could handle. He was just a janitor, for heaven's sake. He cleaned up messes. He didn't uncover massive galactic conspiracies. Yet here he was, in possession of information that could potentially upend the entire power structure of known space. He removed the data crystal from his pocket and stared at it. The sensible thing would be to destroy it, forget everything he had learned, and go back to his simple life of mopping floors and emptying trash receptacles. But he knew he was well past the point of no return. The knowledge couldn't be unlearned. Nathan carefully hid the crystal in a small compartment behind the environmental control panel in his quarters, a hiding place he had discovered months ago when he had to perform minor repairs. Then he tried to get some sleep before his next shift began in 6 hours. He dreamed of ancient cities on distant worlds, of beings that looked almost human walking among structures of impossible geometry. And throughout the dream, a child's voice echoed, "Why do you smell like the gods who made us?" When Nathan awoke, gasping and disoriented, he knew what he had to do. He needed more information, and there was only one place on the station where he might find it, the Xenoarchaeological Research Lab in the Science Wing. If anyone on Nexus 7 was studying precursor civilizations, it would be there, and he knew just how to get access. After all, someone had to clean the place. The next morning, Nathan's plan to access the Xenoarchaeological Lab was remarkably simple. A standard maintenance request filed through the system, approved without question due to the staffing shortages during the summit. Sometimes invisibility had its advantages. Nathan pushed his cleaning cart through the science wing corridors, nodding casually to the few researchers still working despite the summit. Most of the station's scientific personnel were attending specialized conferences that ran parallel to the main diplomatic events. Their absence made his task easier. The lab itself was dimly lit when he entered, the automated systems detecting his presence and raising the illumination to standard levels. Nathan took a moment to survey the space. Workstations with holographic interfaces lined the walls. Display cases contained artifacts from various dig sites. In the center of the room stood a large examination table surrounded by scanning equipment. Nathan began his cleaning routine, methodically working his way around the lab while examining artifacts and data displays. Most seemed to be routine archaeological finds, pottery fragments, primitive tools, fossilized remains. Nothing that screamed ancient advanced civilization. As he mopped near one of the workstations, Nathan noticed it was still active, the researcher having forgotten to log out. The display showed a three-dimensional model of what appeared to be a ruined city on an unnamed world. The architecture was strange, flowing lines and impossible angles that seemed to defy conventional physics. Nathan glanced at the door, then approached the workstation. The interface recognized his presence and displayed a login prompt. To his surprise, the system didn't immediately lock him out. Instead, it scanned him, a soft blue light washing over his face and hands. The display flickered, then changed. Genetic template alpha recognized. Access granted. Nathan's heart raced. This was exactly what the report on the data crystal had mentioned, technology responding to human genetic markers. He quickly navigated through the system, searching for information on precursors or seeders. The database was enormous, containing thousands of research files, expedition reports, and analysis documents. Nathan had no idea where to start or how long he could remain in the lab before someone arrived. A soft sound from the doorway made him freeze. He turned to see the Zinthri child, Taza, standing there, those silver eyes wide and unblinking. "You're looking for them," the child said. It wasn't a question. Nathan hesitated, then nodded. "The gods who made us. The precursors. Do you know about them?" Taza glided into the room, moving with that eerie grace. All Zinthri sensitives know the scent of the ancient ones. It lingers in the void between stars, in the dust of dead worlds. And in you, stronger than I have ever sensed before. What does that mean? Why me? The child approached one of the display cases, pointing to a small stone artifact. The elders say the gods seeded many worlds with life, creating children in various forms. But only one species was made in their true image, carrying their essence. Humans, Nathan said. Taza nodded. The elders call you the inheritors. They say when the stars align, you will awaken to your birthright and the galaxy will tremble. Nathan frowned. That sounds ominous. Many fear what they do not understand, Taza said simply. My people do not fear. We watch and wait. The cycle turns, as it always has. Cycle? What cycle? Before Taza could answer, the lab door slid open again. This time it was a Dorisian researcher, their insectoid form silhouetted against the corridor lighting. The alien froze upon seeing Nathan and the child near the active workstation. This area is restricted, the Dorisian said, their translated voice cold. Maintenance personnel are not authorized to access research terminals. Nathan stepped away from the workstation. Just cleaning around it, sir. Didn't touch anything. The Duraxian's compound eyes gleamed. And the Zinthri offspring? Is it also part of the maintenance crew? Taza spoke before Nathan could respond. I followed the scent of knowledge. The human was merely performing his designated function. The Dorisian made a clicking sound that Nathan's translator didn't convert. You should return to your guardian, young one. And you, human, should complete your tasks and depart. Immediately, Nathan nodded, returning to his mop and cleaning supplies. Just finishing up, sir. The Dorisian moved to the workstation, manipulating the interface with their segmented limbs. Nathan couldn't see what they were doing, but he suspected they were checking access logs. Taza remained in place, those silver eyes fixed on the Dorisian. The knowledge belongs to all, Scholar Ksek, even to those you deem unworthy. The Dorisian, Scholar Ksek, apparently, turned to face the child. The directive of non-interference exists for good reason, young sensitive. Some knowledge is dangerous in unprepared minds. Your elders understand this, even if you do not. The time of hiding truths is ending, Taza said, with a certainty that seemed strange coming from a child. The resonance grows stronger. The beacons activate. The inheritors will remember, with or without your guidance. Nathan continued mopping, trying to appear disinterested in the conversation while straining to hear every word. Beacons, resonance. Each new term added another piece to the puzzle. The Dorisian scholar made another untranslatable sound, then addressed Nathan. Human, escort this child to the diplomatic wing. It should not be wandering the station unattended. Nathan recognized the dismissal and the opportunity it presented. Yes, sir. Right away. He stowed his cleaning supplies on the cart and gestured for Taza to follow him. The child did so without protest, leaving the increasingly agitated Dorisian behind. In the corridor, Nathan waited until they were a safe distance from the lab before speaking. What did you mean about beacons activating? Taz's silver eyes blinked rapidly. The Ancient Ones left sentinels throughout the galaxy, watchers and guardians that sleep until needed. Many have begun to stir in recent cycles, responding to the presence of inheritors among the stars. And the resonance. The connection between inheritor and creation. The gods made many things that respond only to their touch, their presence, their genetic essence. As humans spread through the stars, more of these things awaken. Nathan thought of the workstation that had granted him access after scanning him. That's why the galactic community restricts human access to archaeological sites. They're afraid we'll accidentally activate ancient technologies they don't understand. Fear is a powerful motivator, Taza said, even for species that claim to have evolved beyond such primitive emotions. They walked in silence for a moment. You said your people don't fear humans. What? The Zinthari have their own connection to the Ancient Ones. Not as direct as yours, but special nonetheless. We were made to sense, to feel, to know. In the Great Design, we were to be advisors and guides to the inheritors when they returned to claim their legacy. Nathan stopped walking. So your entire species has been waiting for humans to show up? For how long? Since the Great Silence fell. Since the gods departed. Taza's voice took on a rhythmic quality, as if reciting something memorized. 10,000 generations of watching the skies, preserving the knowledge, tending the sacred places. The elders teach that it is our purpose, our sacred duty. This was getting stranger by the minute. Nathan had expected to uncover a scientific conspiracy, perhaps evidence of some ancient genetic engineering project. But this sounded more like religion than science. Not religion, Taza said, as if reading his thoughts. Memory. History preserved through time. Nathan started walking again. You said the gods departed. What happened to them? If humans are their descendants, why don't we remember any of this? The stories say a great calamity befell the Ancient Ones. Some speak of war among the stars, others of a plague that devoured minds. The truth is lost to time. But before the end, they seeded many worlds with life shaped from their essence, preserving some fragment of what they were. They had reached the diplomatic wing. 2 Zinthari adults stood outside one of the doors, engaged in conversation. They looked up as Nathan and Taza approached. Young, sensitive, one of them said, relief evident in their voice. We have been searching for you. Taza inclined their head. I was exploring, Elder Zintel. The human escort was kind enough to guide me back. The Elder Zinthari, apparently the ambassador Nathan had heard mentioned earlier, regarded Nathan with those disconcerting silver eyes. You have our gratitude, human maintenance worker. Nathan nodded respectfully. Just doing my job, ambassador. He turned to leave, but the ambassador's voice stopped him. You carry a strong resonance, human. Stronger than any I have encountered before. Nathan tensed. So I've been told. The Council believes your kind represents a potential disruption to galactic stability. They fear what you might become if you reclaim your heritage. The ambassador's voice was neutral, revealing nothing of their own opinion. And what do the Zinthari believe? The ambassador's eyes blinked slowly. That the cycle cannot be broken, only delayed. That what is meant to be will come to pass, regardless of the Council's efforts. The second Zinthari spoke, their voice deeper. The ancient texts speak of a time when the inheritors would return to the stars, guided by the sensitives, to reclaim what was lost. That time approaches. Nathan felt a chill. What exactly is it that we're supposed to reclaim? Your birthright, Ambassador Zintel said simply. Knowledge, power, purpose. Before Nathan could respond, the station's emergency alert system activated, bathing the corridor in pulsing red light. Attention all personnel, the automated voice announced. Security breach detected in Science Wing, Section 12. All security teams respond. All non-essential personnel return to quarters immediately. The Zinthari exchanged glances. Ambassador Zintel placed a hand on Taza's shoulder. It appears your explorations have been noticed, young one. Nathan felt a surge of panic. The Dorisian researcher saw us in the lab. If they check the access logs and see that the system granted me entry. The ambassador nodded. then it would be wise for you to avoid security personnel for the time being. They gestured toward their quarters. Perhaps you would care to continue our discussion in private, away from curious eyes and ears. Nathan hesitated. He had no reason to trust these aliens, regardless of their claims about humanity's heritage. But with security teams mobilizing and his unauthorized access likely discovered, his options were limited. Lead the way, Ambassador. The Zinthri quarters were unlike any alien habitat Nathan had seen before. The lighting was dim and tinged with blue, creating the impression of being underwater. The air was heavily perfumed with something that reminded Nathan of cinnamon and ozone. Soft, undulating surfaces replaced standard furniture, and the walls were covered in what appeared to be living, phosphorescent moss. Please, be comfortable, the ambassador said, gesturing to one of the undulating surfaces. This may be a lengthy conversation. Nathan cautiously sat, finding the surface surprisingly firm yet adaptable to his body. I appreciate the sanctuary, Ambassador, but I'm not sure what more there is to discuss. I'm just a maintenance worker who stumbled on something I wasn't supposed to know about. The ambassador's silver eyes regarded him steadily. You are far more than that, Nathan Brooks. Nathan started. How do you know my name? The Zinthri delegation has taken an interest in you since your arrival on this station. Your genetic resonance is exceptional, even among humans. We have been watching, waiting for an appropriate moment to make contact. The second Zinthri, Elder Zinvel, produced a small device and activated it. A holographic display appeared, showing what appeared to be a DNA helix alongside a more complex molecular structure. This is standard human DNA, Elder Zinvel explained, indicating the simpler helix. And this is what we have reconstructed of precursor genetic code from archaeological samples. Nathan recognized the images from the data crystal. The report called it Template Alpha. Ambassador Zintel nodded. The primary precursor genome. Most humans show approximately 97% concordance with this template. You, Nathan Brooks, register at 99.87%, the highest we have ever recorded. Nathan felt lightheaded. What does that mean? Why me? The Ancient Ones were master geneticists, Elder Zinvel said. They understood that knowledge could be encoded in DNA, preserved through generations until needed. Certain human bloodlines carry special markers, genetic keys, to unlock specific precursor technologies or knowledge. You're saying I have some kind of genetic password in my DNA? That's why the lab terminal granted me access. Precisely, the ambassador confirmed. And that is merely the beginning. There are installations throughout the galaxy that have remained dormant for millennia, waiting for the correct genetic key to activate them. Nathan thought of the data crystal hidden in his quarters. The report mentioned spontaneous technology activation in the presence of human biological material. Is that what you're talking about? Yes, though such incidents have been minor thus far, isolated systems responding to human presence. Nothing like the major installations. The ambassador paused. The Council fears what might happen if humans with strong genetic resonance were to access primary precursor sites. They believe it could shift the balance of power in the galaxy overnight and give humanity access to technologies far beyond anything currently available, Nathan said, beginning to understand the stakes. That's why they've been keeping us away from certain archaeological sites and restricting our access to information about the precursors. The directive of non-interference was established specifically to manage the human situation, Elder Zinvel confirmed. To guide your species' development along paths that would not lead to the discovery of your heritage until the Council deemed you ready, a time they continuously postpone. Nathan felt a surge of anger. Who are they to decide what knowledge humanity is ready for? Fear, Taza said from where the child sat cross-legged on the floor. Fear of change. Fear of losing their position in the established order. The young one speaks truth, Ambassador Zintel said. The current galactic powers have maintained stability for nearly 15,000 years. The emergence of a species with direct access to precursor knowledge and technology threatens that stability. Nathan's station communicator chimed with an incoming message. He hesitated, then activated it. Emily's voice came through, tense and urgent. Nathan, security teams are searching for you. They know you accessed restricted files in the Xenoarchaeological lab. You need to get to Escape Pod Bay 7 in the maintenance sector immediately. Use access tunnels to avoid security checkpoints. I'll meet you there in 20 minutes. The message ended abruptly. Nathan looked up at the Zinthri. You heard that? Ambassador Zintel nodded. Your human colleague appears to be part of the Resistance Network, humans who have discovered fragments of the truth and work to unveil the rest. Can I trust her? Trust is a complex calculation, Elder Zinvel said. But in this instance, I believe your interests align with hers. Nathan stood. I need to get to my quarters first. There's something I need to retrieve. The data crystal you found during the reception, the ambassador said, confirming that they somehow knew about it. A fortunate accident that it found its way to you. Or perhaps not an accident at all. Can you help me get there without being caught by security? Better, Ambassador Zintel said, producing a small device similar to the one Emily had used to jam surveillance. This will temporarily mask your genetic signature from the station's internal sensors. It will not fool direct observation, but it will prevent the automated systems from tracking you. Nathan took the device. Thank you. But why are you helping me? What do the Zinthari gain from humans discovering their heritage? Fulfillment of our purpose, Elder Zinvel said simply. For countless generations, my people have preserved knowledge of the Ancient Ones, waiting for the inheritors to return to the stars. It is our sacred duty to guide you in reclaiming what was lost. And if that upends the entire galactic order. Ambassador Zintel's silver eyes gleamed. Then perhaps the order was built on an unstable foundation to begin with. Taza approached Nathan, holding out a small, crystalline object that resembled a compass. Take this. It will help you find what you seek. Nathan accepted it cautiously. What is it? A resonance locator, the child explained. It responds to precursor technology. The stronger the pulse, the closer you are to something of significance. Nathan pocketed the device alongside the signature masker. I don't understand why you're all putting so much faith in me. I'm just a janitor. You are what you need to be, until you become what you were meant to be, Taza said cryptically. Ambassador Zintel moved to a wall panel and pressed a sequence of controls. A section of the wall slid aside, revealing a narrow maintenance passage. This will take you near your quarters while avoiding main corridors. Make haste, Nathan Brooks. Events have been set in motion that cannot be undone. The maintenance passage was cramped and dimly lit, but Nathan navigated it confidently. After 3 years on the station, he knew the maintenance tunnels better than most. They were his domain, after all. He reached his quarters without incident and quickly retrieved the data crystal from its hiding place. As he held it, the crystal seemed to pulse with inner light, responding to his touch. Nathan pocketed it alongside the resonance locator Taza had given him. He quickly gathered a few essential items, a change of clothes, his personal tablet, and the emergency credit chip he kept hidden in his mattress. As he was about to leave, he hesitated, then grabbed the small photo cube containing images of his family back on Earth. Nathan's communicator chimed again with a station-wide alert. Attention, all personnel. Security lockdown in effect. All non-essential movement is restricted until further notice. Remain in your current location and await instructions. That complicated matters. Nathan activated his communicator, keeping the channel secure as Emily had shown him. Emily, it's Nathan. The station's in lockdown. How am I supposed to reach the escape pod bay now? Her response came immediately. Use maintenance, shaft 47C. It bypasses the main security checkpoints. I'm already at the escape pod bay. Hurry, we don't have much time. Nathan exited his quarters and returned to the maintenance tunnels. He navigated the labyrinthine passages with practiced ease, occasionally consulting the station schematic on his tablet. As he moved deeper into the maintenance sector, he became aware of a soft pulsing from his pocket. The resonance locator was activating, its pulse growing stronger as he moved toward the escape pod bay. Nathan frowned. Was there precursor technology in the escape pods? That seemed unlikely. Unless Emily had brought something with her. Or unless it wasn't Emily waiting for him at all. Nathan slowed his pace, caution overriding urgency. He approached the final junction before the escape pod bay and peered through the small observation port in the access panel. The bay appeared normal, 6 standard escape pods in their launch cradles, emergency equipment stored in wall lockers, status displays showing all systems nominal. Emily stood near the central control console, checking her communicator repeatedly. She appeared to be alone. Nathan was about to open the panel when the resonance locator in his pocket pulsed more intensely, almost painfully. At the same moment, he noticed something odd about the far wall of the bay, a subtle distortion, as if the light were bending around something that wasn't quite visible. He froze, suddenly uncertain. The resonance locator was detecting something powerful, something that shouldn't be there. And Emily seemed completely unaware of it. Taking a deep breath, Nathan opened the access panel and stepped into the bay. Emily turned at the sound, relief washing over her face. Nathan, thank goodness. We need to hurry. Nathan approached cautiously, one hand in his pocket, fingers wrapped around the resonance locator. What's the plan? These pods are tracked the moment they launch. We're not taking a standard escape route, Emily said, moving to the control console. I've programmed a trajectory that will take us to a rendezvous point in the asteroid belt. Friends are waiting for us there. The resonance locator was pulsing frantically now, almost burning against Nathan's fingers. He surreptitiously withdrew it and glanced at it. The crystalline device was glowing bright blue, pointing unmistakably toward the distortion he had noticed earlier. Emily, he said carefully, we're not alone in here. She looked up sharply. What do you mean? Before Nathan could explain, the air near the distortion rippled, and a figure shimmered into visibility. It was a Dorisian, but unlike any Nathan had seen before. This one wore what appeared to be battle armor, sleek and menacing, with weapons integrated into the exoskeleton. Containment unit, Emily whispered, her face draining of color. Nathan, run. The Dorisian spoke, its translator rendering its clicking language into flat, emotionless tones. Human Nathan Brooks, you have accessed restricted information and technology in violation of Directive 7 of the Galactic Concord. You will surrender the precursor artifacts in your possession and submit to memory adjustment. Nathan backed away, positioning himself between Emily and the Dorisian. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just a maintenance worker. The Duraxian's compound eyes gleamed. Your genetic signature has been flagged as a Category 1 security concern. Surrender now, or containment protocols will be implemented. Emily's hand closed around Nathan's arm. We need to get to Escape Pod 3. Now, the Dorisian raised a limb, and the integrated weapon began to glow with energy. Containment protocols initiated. Nathan didn't wait to see what containment protocols entailed. He grabbed Emily's hand and sprinted toward Escape Pod 3, ducking as energy pulses sizzled through the air where they had been standing. They reached the pod, and Emily slammed her palm against the access panel. The door slid open, and they tumbled inside. Nathan hit the emergency launch sequence as more energy pulses impacted the pod's exterior. Unauthorized launch detected, the station's automated system announced. Emergency override in progress. They're trying to lock us down, Emily said, moving to the pod's control interface. I need to bypass the override. Buy me some time. Nathan looked around the small pod, searching for anything that might help. The pods were designed for survival, not combat. They contained basic emergency supplies, minimal navigation capabilities, and enough life support for 4 occupants for approximately 2 weeks. The resonance locator was still pulsing frantically in his pocket. On impulse, Nathan took it out and placed it against the pod's control system. The crystalline device flared with blue light, and suddenly the pod's displays changed, showing interface elements Nathan had never seen before. What did you do? Emily asked, staring at the transformed controls. I'm not sure, Nathan admitted, but I think it just bypassed the station's override. The pod shuddered as the launch mechanism activated. Through the viewport, Nathan could see the Dorisian containment unit firing repeatedly at them, but it was too late. The pod ejected from the station with a violent jolt, sending them tumbling into space. As the initial acceleration stabilized, Nathan looked at the navigation display. Instead of the asteroid belt rendezvous Emily had mentioned, the pod was now on a completely different trajectory, heading toward coordinates that weren't even in the station's navigational database. "The locator changed our course," Nathan said. "It's taking us somewhere." Emily stared at the display, then at the resonance locator, which was now pulsing with a steady, rhythmic blue light. "The device must be keyed to your genetic signature. It's activated some kind of homing beacon." "To where?" Emily shook her head. "I don't know. The coordinates aren't in any charted system I'm familiar with." Nathan felt the data crystal in his pocket growing warm. He took it out and found it glowing with the same blue light as the resonance locator. When he held the two objects near each other, they seemed to resonate, the light pulsing in perfect synchronization. "I think they're connected," Nathan said. "The crystal and the locator. They're part of the same system." Nathan inserted the data crystal into the pod's information port. The pod's displays immediately transformed again, filling with information in that strange, flowing script he had seen before. As before, the characters gradually shifted into recognizable Earth standard. Inheritor genetic key recognized. Emergency protocol alpha initiated. Navigational override accepted. Destination, Sanctuary Prime. Sanctuary Prime? Emily read. "I've never heard of it." "Neither have I," Nathan said. "But apparently that's where we're going." The data continued to flow across the display, too fast for Nathan to read it all. Star charts, navigational data, historical records, fragments of information about the precursors and their civilization. The pod's communication system activated, showing an incoming transmission from the station. Nathan accepted it. Ambassador Zintel's face appeared on the screen. The Zinthari looked calm despite the chaos that must be unfolding on the station. "Nathan Brooks, you have successfully evaded the containment unit. Impressive, though not unexpected." "Ambassador," Nathan acknowledged. "I'm assuming the station authorities aren't happy about this." "An understatement. The council representatives are demanding your immediate return and the surrender of all precursor artifacts in your possession. The human diplomatic contingent is claiming ignorance and disclaiming responsibility for your actions." "Great. So I'm a fugitive now." The ambassador's silver eyes blinked slowly. "You are a catalyst, Nathan Brooks. The beginning of a change long overdue. The devices have activated and shown you the way to Sanctuary Prime, yes?" Nathan nodded. "You knew about this all along." "Not the specific location, no? The knowledge of the sanctuary locations was deliberately kept fragmented, with no single species holding all the pieces. But we knew such places existed, waiting for the inheritors to find them. What will we find there? Knowledge. Technology. Perhaps answers to questions you have not yet thought to ask." The ambassador paused. "The council has dispatched containment vessels to intercept you. Your pod's propulsion system will not outrun them." Nathan felt a surge of alarm. "Then we're trapped." "Not necessarily. The pod you have taken contains more than is immediately apparent. The resonance locator will reveal what you need, when you need it." The transmission began to break up, interference patterns distorting the ambassador's image. "Our time grows short. The council is restricting communications. Remember, Nathan Brooks, you carry the essence of the gods who made us. Trust in that inheritance." The transmission cut off. Nathan turned to Emily, who had been monitoring the pod sensors. "We've got company," she said grimly. "Two vessels on an intercept course. Based on their energy signatures, they're council security ships." Nathan looked at the resonance locator, still pulsing steadily on the control panel. "The ambassador said this would reveal what we need. Any ideas what that might mean?" Emily shook her head. "Precursor technology often has hidden functions that only activate under specific circumstances." Nathan picked up the locator and examined it more closely. The crystalline device was warm to the touch, the blue light pulsing in a pattern that seemed almost like a heartbeat. As he turned it in his hands, He noticed fine lines etched into its surface, forming intricate patterns that shifted as he moved it. The data crystal in the pod's information port suddenly flared brighter, and new information appeared on the displays. Pursuit vessels detected. Defensive protocols available. Inheritor authorization required. I think it's asking for permission to activate some kind of defense system, Emily said. Nathan hesitated. What kind of defense system could an escape pod possibly have? Remember, this isn't just an ordinary escape pod anymore. The precursor technology has integrated with it, changed it. The pursuing vessels were closing rapidly. According to the pod's sensors, they would be within weapons range in less than 5 minutes. Nathan took a deep breath. Authorized defensive protocols, he said, somehow knowing the system would recognize his voice. The display acknowledged his command. Defensive protocols activated. Phase shift initiating in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The pod shuddered, and for a moment, everything seemed to blur around them. Nathan felt a strange sensation, as if he were simultaneously stretching and compressing. Then reality snapped back into focus. What just happened? He asked, looking around. Everything in the pod appeared normal. Emily was checking the sensors. The pursuing vessels, they're still there, but they're not reacting to us. It's like they can't see us anymore. Some kind of cloaking technology? Emily shook her head, eyes wide with wonder. Not cloaking. According to these readings, we've partially shifted out of normal space-time. We're existing slightly out of phase with the rest of the universe. That's possible. Apparently for the precursors, it was. Emily studied the displays. The effect is temporary, according to these readings. About 6 hours before we shift back to normal space-time. That should give us enough of a head start to reach Sanctuary Prime, Nathan said, checking the navigational display. According to this, we'll arrive in just under 5 hours. Emily looked at him with new respect. Nathan Brooks, maintenance worker. Who would have thought you'd be the key to unlocking humanity's true heritage? Nathan smiled wryly. Not me, that's for sure. I just wanted a steady job off-planet. As their pod streaked through space, partially phased out of normal reality, Nathan thought about the strange journey that had brought him here. From a simple janitor to the genetic key that might unlock humanity's true place in the galaxy. All because a curious alien child had asked him why he smelled like the gods who made them. 5 hours later, the pod systems chimed with an alert. Nathan, who had been dozing fitfully, jerked awake to see Emily staring out the viewport, her expression one of awe and disbelief. Nathan, she whispered. Look. He moved to the viewport and felt his breath catch in his throat. Ahead of them floated what appeared to be a small moon or large asteroid. But this was no natural celestial body. Its surface was covered in geometric patterns that glowed with internal light. Great spires rose from the surface, reaching toward the stars. The entire structure pulsed with the same blue light as the resonance locator and data crystal. Sanctuary Prime, Emily breathed. It's real. As they approached, a section of the surface began to reconfigure itself, opening like the petals of a flower to reveal a docking bay large enough to accommodate their pod. The navigational system guided them in smoothly, as if the pod and the sanctuary were communicating with each other. When they docked, the pod systems interfaced with the sanctuaries, displaying a simple message. Welcome home, Inheritor. The legacy awaits. The pod's door slid open, revealing a brightly lit corridor beyond. The air that wafted in was fresh and clean, with a subtle scent that reminded Nathan of spring on Earth. What do we do now? Emily asked, her voice hushed. Nathan looked at the resonance locator in his hand, still pulsing in sync with the lights of the sanctuary around them. He thought of the Zinthari child's words, of the ambassador's faith in him, of the data crystal's revelations about humanity's true origins. We reclaim our birthright, he said, stepping through the door. We learn who we really are, who we were meant to be. As they walked down the corridor, lights activated ahead of them, guiding their way. The walls were covered in the same flowing script Nathan had seen on the data crystal, but here it seemed alive, shifting and changing as they passed. They entered a vast chamber at the heart of the sanctuary. In the center stood a raised platform with what appeared to be a control interface. As Nathan approached, the platform began to glow. A voice spoke, not through speakers or any visible means, but directly in their minds. The language was strange, ancient, yet somehow Nathan understood it perfectly. The cycle nears completion. The inheritors have returned. A holographic display activated above the platform, showing the galaxy in miniature. Thousands of points of light began to pulse with the same blue glow as the sanctuary itself. Beacons, Emily whispered. Just like Taza said, sentinels waiting to be awakened. Throughout the cosmos, our legacy awaits. The voice continued. Knowledge preserved, power contained, purpose defined. You who carry our essence, you who smell of the gods who made you, the choice is now yours. What choice? Nathan asked. The holographic display shifted, showing scenes of ancient history. A mighty civilization spanning galaxies. Technological marvels beyond imagination. And then, conflict. War. Destruction on an unimaginable scale. We who came before faced our extinction with hope, not despair. We seeded the cosmos with life in our image, varied and diverse, each with a piece of our essence. But only to you, our direct descendants, do we entrust the full measure of our knowledge and power. Why? Nathan asked. Why humans specifically? Because you evolved as we did, on a world of constant challenge and change. You learned to adapt, to overcome, to cooperate and compete in equal measure. You developed empathy alongside ambition, compassion alongside drive. And most importantly, you learned from your mistakes rather than repeating them endlessly. The other species seem to think we're dangerous, Emily said. That will upset the galactic order if we access this knowledge. All transformation brings uncertainty, the voice responded. The current galactic powers fear change because they benefit from stasis. They have forgotten that evolution demands change, the voice continued. Stagnation leads only to decay. The holographic display shifted again, showing Earth and human colonies throughout the stars, then widening to include all intelligent species across the galaxy. The choice before you is not whether to claim your heritage, but how to use it. Will you repeat our mistakes? Will you use this power to dominate others? Or will you choose a different path? Nathan looked at Emily, then back at the holographic display. What happened to you? To the precursors? We destroyed ourselves, the voice said simply. Our technology advanced beyond our wisdom. We fractured into factions, each believing they alone knew the right path forward. The war that followed devastated galaxies. Then why give us this power at all? Nathan asked. If it led to your destruction? Because you have something we lacked in our final days. Perspective. You have seen what lesser technologies can do when wielded without wisdom. You have nearly destroyed yourselves more than once, yet pulled back from the brink. And most importantly, you have grown among diverse species, learning to see through eyes not your own. The platform began to glow more intensely. The full archive of our knowledge awaits your command. Once activated, it will transmit to all humans throughout the galaxy, encoding itself within your DNA, accessible as intuitive understanding rather than learned knowledge. Nathan hesitated. Shouldn't this be a decision made by all humanity? By our leaders and scientists? Leaders who hide in the shadows of the Council's authority? Emily asked. Who accept the lie that humans must be kept from their heritage for their own good? The young Zinthari was right, Nathan said after a moment. The time of hiding truths is ending. Knowledge belongs to all, not just those deemed worthy by self-appointed guardians. He placed his hand on the glowing platform. Activate the archive. Share our heritage with all humanity. The sanctuary's blue light pulsed once, blindingly bright, then stabilized. Throughout human space, from Earth to the farthest colonies, humans paused as knowledge unfurled within their minds. Not as overwhelming data, but as intuitive understanding, as if remembering something long forgotten rather than learning something new. 3 months later, Nathan stood on the observation deck of the newly commissioned Earth vessel Inheritor, watching as representatives from every species in the Galactic Concord boarded for the historic summit. The ship, built with precursor principles now innately understood by human engineers, would take them to Sanctuary Prime for the first meeting of the new Galactic Council, one where humans and Xanthari would have equal standing with the older species. Emily joined him at the viewport. The Dorisian delegation just arrived. Even they couldn't ignore the invitation. Nathan smiled. Fear gives way to curiosity eventually. They're beginning to understand we're not interested in domination. Just cooperation, Emily agreed. The Precursor's final gift wasn't their technology, it was their failure. The ultimate cautionary tale. A small figure approached them, Taza, now serving as a junior delegate in the Xanthari Diplomatic Corps. The child's silver eyes gleamed with satisfaction. The cycle completes, Taza said. The inheritors have claimed their birthright, yet chosen a path the ancient ones could not, sharing power rather than hoarding it. Nathan nodded. We still smell like the gods who made us, but we won't make their mistakes. As the ship prepared for departure, he looked out at the stars, no longer distant and unreachable, but home to a united galaxy moving forward together into a future bright with possibility. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.